One of my heroes, the great Byron Hill. Seriously, Byron, we'll get into that in a minute. I want to start, even before I name the song, with a quote that I found doing a little research this morning. I think this was part of a Song Facts article. Kevin John Coyne of Country Universe gave the song Foolhardy Memory an A grade. He says that Strait finds his literal voice on this song. I concur with that, Byron. He states that it is stronger and more confident than any had been on his first album. While the song calls for a certain amount of restraint and sadness, Strait is able to fully capture those emotions without sounding timid. He goes on to say that you cannot listen to this song without reveling in the delightfully country fiddle riff. I like the fiddle riff, but dude, I reread these lyrics this morning, and Byron Hill, are you kidding me? I mean, I'm just going to quote one line that I've always loved. I don't know if it was you or your co-writer Blake Mevis, the late, great Blake Mevis that we lost during the COVID pandemic. But, and he sits patiently here every night so it can fool him more. Man, we've all done that. That love that you just got away and you can't let it go. Take us back. Was this about somebody? I mean, I know the movie part, but you just tell us this fascinating story, Byron.
Well, thank you, Bart. Back in 1981, I was writing for ATV Music, and my publisher, Jerry Teifer, was really close friends with Jim Fogelsong over at MCA. And Jim, of course, had signed Strait to his record deal there. And they had had a couple of singles out, and they were looking to get him to the next level. Well, the ATV Music had all these ins with film projects, movies, and so they connected me. The plan was to connect me. I was a very young writer at the time. I had signed to ATV in 78, so it was really my third year there. And they connected me with Blake, who was at the time a young producer producing George at MCA. And so it sort of made sense. Got together and we just had to write something that would fit the movie, make it into a soundtrack.
Well, let's back up for a minute. So you had a song in a previous movie, what, The Exterminator?
Yeah, I had a song.
So they go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had a song that was in that movie that I'd written with Mike Reed, and that movie didn't do all that well, and they wanted that song was recorded by Roger Bowling,
right?
And Roger was on Mercury, but they didn't have a lot of success with that movie or the song, so they came back for another movie, the same company. The movie,
but they had pegged you as you could write for movies. So
yeah. So we had to, I had to read the script, and we had to come up with some kind of concept for the movie. And also, of course, it would satisfy what MCA wanted to do with George. Back then, it was just post the urban cowboy days. So that was kind of a trend, was to kind of put country singers into bar scenes or whatever. So it all made sense. And they got Blake and I together to write something. And, I knew if I didn't write it with Blake, he was probably going to go down the street and write something with someone else.
So let me pause you for a moment here just to get the historical record straight. As close as we are, we've never really talked about this song much, Byron. And so I always thought every time I heard it, we know Dean Dillon set out to write songs for Strait, but if this audience needs to understand, you can write songs with an artist in mind all day long. They almost never cut them unless you write it with them. And I always thought to myself, man, what a great pitch. It's almost like they wrote this song for George Strait. And you did.
Well, yeah, and I think at that time, George really wasn't, people didn't really know what he was to a full extent. They had some idea. He had had a couple of singles out, but his career wasn't established over a long period of time yet. So it was a little easier maybe to come up with something that he would be willing to sing. And it just it was amazing because Blake, he passed away this year, and it was really sad for me and everyone, but he had a real concept of what he wanted to do with George. And And so we sat down at a house on Music Row, 1217 16th Avenue South, which is where ATV Music was. We were in a little upstairs room. The house is still there. You can drive down Music Row, and that house looks almost like it did when I wrote.
Is that the window you were looking out of when you chased Teddy Gentry of Alabama down?
No.
Okay, because you
Different
had a lot of success in little houses over on the road.
Different publishing deal,
Okay.
and that was about 10 years later. But yeah, we wrote in a little upstairs room there at 1217 16th, and I remember there was shag carpet on the floor, and that line, that string of pearls that slipped away. When we hit that line, I thought, man, if they were in this shag carpet, we'd never find them.
Never find them.
But Blake took the song home that night and did a little 4-track work tape on it in his little home studio thing or whatever, a T-Act or something that he recorded on. And it was he did a little work tape with just him and his guitar, and then took it into the studio the following week. And so that signature riff, that the fiddle on the front, Blake and I actually came up with that in the writing process. So, a lot of times songs go into the studio and there is no signature riff, and you wait for the musicians to come up with something. But that one was actually on the original work tape with Blake doing it with his guitar. And I have a copy of that. If anybody wants to hear it,
I want to hear it. You bring it next time.
I'll send it.
I love that, man. But
yeah, the original demo.
You're one of the, look, a minute about Byron. You have served on this board of directors of NSAI for years. You're a consigliere to me. You're gentle guidance. You'll say, have you ever thought about this? And that I've learned to let go. I should pay attention and do that, Byron. There's nobody I respect in this industry, literally, more than you. You're one of the finest men I've ever known, and you've been a stalwart on our advocacy front, and you are really useful to our mission. Just I can't thank you enough. Now,
well, thank you.
You're also one of the most humble people I've ever known. But we're going to brag for a second, or I am. I have to believe after you and Blake wrote this, especially with him in the producer's chair, this song, I agree with what Kevin Coyne said. It was George Strait finding his voice. I think it set the template for every Strait song that came after it, Byron. Don't you see that a little bit?
I would like to think that we had something to do with it.
I know you did.
It really, yeah. A lot of people do say still that it's one of their favorite, George Strait songs. And also, I think as far as the kickoff, that intro, everyone knows what it is when it happens. I think that little fiddle kickoff has filled a lot of dance floors through the years,
Well, did you kind of know after you wrote it, after you heard Blake's work tape, that you were on to something of this magnitude?
Yeah, I mean, I remember distinctly thinking we had a really good song when we finished it before he had the work tape, and he went home that night and laid down a little work tape, and I was even more convinced when I heard that. But then Blake invited me to the studio the next week, and I got to hear the final product. So how rare is that? You write something and it gets recorded almost right away. Of course, Blake was in the hot seat. He had to come up with something, and he did it. And it's we did it, and he recorded it right away, and the rest is, well, the song ended up being bigger than the movie too. The Soldier really wasn't.
Although, and people have really divided opinions on it. I'm so surprised. I think Pure Country is the greatest movie ever made with a country star in it. I mean,
yeah, that was a great movie.
And I don't know that he gets there without this, though, Byron. I mean, he had to start somewhere, and it was ASCAP's, if I remember this right, most played song of 1982.
Well, it was among them. It won an ASCAP award. It was not Song of the Year.
Okay, well, I'm re-voting for that. I'm just getting it. We have my friend that won that this year.
But it was 40 years ago. It's amazing. This is a big, exciting kind of year for me, because right now, which is in the early summer of 1982, the song was released, and it actually went #1 in the week of August 28th, 1982. So that's how long this song has been out there. I play it live all the time.
Yeah.
I played it every show, and it's as a songwriter shows that I do. And I always say it probably means more to me than it does to George, but just the fact that
I don't know,
it
you
was,
first number one, Byron. I mean,
yeah,
there's,
that's right.
you can have a lot. There's never one like your first one. And
Well,
I've been in a lot of clubs, music clubs. We both have through the years. This is probably one of the 10 most covered songs in country music history.
well, I'm kind of proud of some
Yeah.
of those bluegrass covers even
Yeah,
on it.
yeah.
It's actually gotten covered that way. Um, but yeah, it was a wonderful thing that happened 40 years ago, right about now. And
Well, Dean Dillon probably needs to give you a piece of everything he did after that. I'm joking, sort of, but look, I
well,
really do think you set the template for what we could argue is the greatest country singer in modern country music history. George
well,
Strait had set the tone, man.
I'm glad to have had something to do with it. And Dean, of course, he's just I've been on some shows with Dean, and he is so kind
Yeah.
and gracious about the fact that I wrote George's number one, or Blake and I wrote it, and and he always mentions that when we're doing the show, and I think that's fantastic, because I don't know how many George Strait cuts Dean has had, but he's certainly sustained George's
It's a lot of
career.
double-digit number ones for him. And by the way, a plug for Dean, because there is a documentary out about his life. I'm
Right.
not sure which pay channel it's on, but it's certainly worthy of watching.
Oh,
Byron,
absolutely.
again, I thank you. Is there anything you want to add I didn't ask you about this song, or Blake's role in it? Or did you ever see George perform it?
Oh yeah, I've seen him perform it. It's I can't remember exactly where it was, several times,
Yeah.
but yeah, and it's just pretty exciting. It's um, but I really we lost Blake early in his. He wasn't a real old guy when he died at all. He was just this is that time we've been through a rough time, and he was one of the victims
Yeah.
of the COVID thing, and I really hated that.
I did too.
But we had just had lunch last year, and we actually had a little 30th gathering for this song. We did it over at ASCAP on the 30th anniversary, so that was nice. Blake was there, and we had the publisher there. This Sony Publishing publishes the song, both all of the songs, so they have Blake's share and my share. So that was really nice to have them there for that, and the ASCAP people. So, but
As you
I don't know
said
if we're going to do
earlier,
anything this year.
well, the week of August 28th marks the 40th anniversary
Yeah.
of the song written by the late Mevis and Byron Hill, which is the subject this week, the Tennessean and Tennessean.com, Foolhardy Memory.